المستثمر الخبيث واللاعبين الأبرياء. لعبة الشهرة والمال في عالم السوشيال ميديا. والشهرة. In the world of investment, there are many who are eager to profit at the expense of others. This ruthless pursuit of wealth often blinds them to the consequences of their actions, leading them to exploit the vulnerabilities of those less knowledgeable. They maneuver through the market with a relentless hunger for financial gain, often disregarding the ethical boundaries that should guide their decisions. Once upon a time, a cunning investor watched every move in a grand club. His eyes, sharp and calculating, missed nothing. He observed the hopes and dreams of the members, their ambitions and fears, their strengths and weaknesses. With this information, he crafted strategies to exploit them, always ensuring his actions went unnoticed. This investor had no regard for morals and values, as his only aim was to achieve his profits. His actions were driven by greed and a complete disregard for the well-being of others. He manipulated, deceived, and used every trick in the book to maximize his gains. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, presenting a facade of integrity while plotting his next move. The innocent players who dreamt of fame and fortune were the perfect victims for this cunning investor. They were young, ambitious, and naive, unaware of the treacherous waters they were venturing into. They trusted the investor, believing in his promises of success and prosperity. Little did they know, they were simply pawns in his grand scheme. The cunning investor began to execute his plan, finding a way to reach every player. He used his position of trust and respect to influence their decisions, always ensuring his advice would lead to his own profit. He expertly manipulated the players, convincing them to make decisions that would ultimately lead to their downfall, while he reaped the benefits. He was able to exploit the trust and confidence that he had built over the years. This unscrupulous investor was a master of manipulation, using his reputation to convince the masses to rally behind him. His charisma and apparent success made him an influential figure, and he used this influence to further his own interests. His tactics were cunning and deceptive. He found a way to control the players and the teams, bending them to his will. He masterfully played on their ambitions and dreams, promising them fame and fortune while secretly plotting their downfall. His actions were not driven by a love for the game, but by his insatiable greed. He had no qualms about using others as stepping stones to reach his own goals. Every move he made, every decision he took, was calculated to maximize his own profit. The players were merely pawns in his game, receiving a mere fraction of the wealth he was amassing. He tossed them the bare minimum, just enough to keep them satisfied and oblivious to his true intentions. The wealth he flated was not shared equitably. It was hoarded and used to further his own agenda. All of this was happening behind the scenes, away from the prying eyes of the public. He operated in the shadows, his deceit and manipulation concealed by a veil of secrecy. The truth was there, but it was obscured, hidden behind a carefully constructed facade of success and prosperity. The harsh truth was always there, looming in the shadows, a painful reality that was difficult to ignore. The conniving investor was living off the hard work and dreams of innocent players. He didn't just manipulate them, he sucked the joy out of their passion and turned it into a nightmare. The players were left with nothing but shattered dreams and exploited trust. The unscrupulous investor had ruthlessly squandered their lives and ambitions for his personal gain. He had no compassion, no sense of decency, and certainly no qualms about throwing them under the bus when they had served their purpose. He had taken their hopes, their aspirations, and turned them into his stepping stones, all while disguising his deceit under the guise of mentorship. Yet in the end, greed and selfishness only lead to one's downfall. It's a vicious cycle that eventually consumes the perpetrator. The investor's insatiable hunger for wealth blinded him to the corrosive consequences of his actions. His greed led him not to riches, but to a dark abyss from which there was no return. It is essential always to remember that true success stems from hard work and good morals. No amount of wealth can substitute the satisfaction derived from honest achievement. The players, though deceived and disillusioned, still held on to their passion and integrity. They knew that the path to real glory was treacherous and arduous, but it was a path they were willing to tread. Nobody can ever truly benefit from the misery of others. It's a hollow victory, a superficial success that crumbles at the slightest touch. The players understood this, and they vowed to rise from the ashes, stronger and more determined. They knew that their journey was far from over, their dreams far from shattered. They held on to the belief that justice would prevail, and their time would come. لا يمكن للإنسان أن يعيش حياة سعيدة ومستقرة على حساب معاناة الآخرين. الاستفادة من تعاسة الناس أمر غير أخلاقي، ولا يحقق الراحة النفسية أو السكينة، بل يؤدي في النهاية إلى الندم والتوتر. العدالة والحق هما الأساس لبناء مجتمع متقدم ومزدهر. الظلم والغش يمكن أن يسودا لفترة من الزمن، ولكنهما لن يستمرا للأبد. العدالة ستسود في النهاية، وستعاقب كل من يستغل الآخرين بطرق غير عادلة. في النهاية، الأمل دائماً موجود ولا يجب أن نفقده. الحق سيظهر في النهاية، وستنكشف الأحقية. لا يجب أن ننسى أنه رغم الظروف الصعبة، ينبغي أن نظل نؤمن بالعدالة والحق،